An exoplanet from the TRAPPIST-1 system under the magnifying glass of the Webb telescope. An international team of scientists used Space James Webb Telescope for more detailed study of the rocky planet extrasolar located in the TRAPPIST-1 system. Observations revealed that the innermost world in the system, an exoplanet called TRAPPIST-1b, it reaches a temperature of 230 degrees Celsius and is unlikely to an atmosphere was created there. With every message about the discovery of a planet resembling we usually have some hopes for the Earth. They concern, for example, whether there is life on it. Unfortunately, sometimes the results of more detailed observations they make us realize that the mere fact of similarity in terms of e.g. size does not it is enough for potential life to have any chance on a distant planet. After more detailed research on one of the planets orbiting in the TRAPPIST-1 system turned out to be very hot and most likely it has no atmosphere. The discovery raises questions about the atmosphere around it, cooler planets in the system. The description and results of the research were published in the journal Nature. A few years ago, NASA's Spitzer Space Telescope discovered a group of 7 rocky planets orbiting a named star TRAPPIST-1. This star is much smaller than our Sun. It is the so-called dwarf type M. Interestingly, there are 10 times more such stars in the Milky Way alone than those resembling the Sun, and the probability that they will be around they orbit rocky planets twice as large. No wonder it's under in this respect. They are in the sights of astronomers. The discovery of these planets aroused enthusiasm in the environment astronomers, because not only do all of them resemble the Earth in size, but their distance from the star they orbit is also potentially it is appropriate for liquid water to exist on them. Even found that these are the best holes we have to look for traces of the atmosphere such rocky planets. Of course, this type of analysis may have for at the moment, we are only theoretically important. Unfortunately, but the planets orbiting TRAPPIST-1 are completely beyond our reach. Finds about 40 light-years away. Recently, research on these planets has been deepened. And that with the James Webb Space Telescope case, which took a closer look one of them, TRAPPIST-1b. It aroused particular interest among scientists. The temperature there depends especially on whether and to what extent potentially habitable. Using an infrared camera it was decided to look at the thermal emission of the analyzed planet. However, before we get to the planet, a few more words about star. Well, these types of dwarfs are much more active than our Sun and they emit high-energy radiation, dangerous not only to the potential life on planets, but even for their atmospheres. And unfortunately in context TRAPPIST-1b has no good news. It is located on such a surface planet man would just cook. It turns out that it rains on its temperature would effectively prevent the existence of any life. As long as there are no forms of it somewhere in space that prefer this much extreme conditions. The temperature on the planet reaches as much as 232 degrees Celsius. But that's still not all. Apparently on TRAPPIST-1b there is no atmosphere at all. Moreover, half of this planet is constantly facing in the direction of the star, while the other half sinks into darkness. Secrets of consciousness. Scientists propose new one's explanation. A team of scientists from Boston University proposed a new theory of consciousness according to which our brains are not actually actively aware of our surroundings and process subconscious memories created just half a second earlier. Researchers believe that their new concept can explain why it is so difficult to resist temptations and behavior impulsive, and also explain phenomena that cannot be explained in another way. Consciousness is the basic mental state thanks to which we are aware of internal phenomena such as our thought processes, both feelings and phenomena occurring in the external environment. It's thanks we can respond to various stimuli in consciousness. It is subjective and unique to every person. Scientists from Boston University Chobanian and Abedisian the School of Medicine recently developed a new theory about consciousness. It explains its development, indicates what it is useful for, what disorders it is used for, it can influence, and why maintaining a strict diet or resisting urges it's so difficult. In short, our theory is that consciousness has developed itself as a memory system that is used by our brain unconsciously to help us flexibly and creatively imagine the future and it accordingly plan, explains Professor Neurobiology Andrew Budson, lead author of the study. According to her, we do not perceive the world, make decisions, or execute actions directly. Instead, we do all these things unconsciously, then, about half a second later, we consciously remember them. Execution, says scientist. Budson emphasizes that he developed a new theory with the philosopher Dr. Kenneth Richman of the Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences and psychologist Dr. Elizabeth Kensinger of Boston College. Scientists wanted to explain a number of phenomena that could not be easily explained using earlier theories of consciousness. We knew the processes that affect consciousness in the brain, they are simply too slow for us to actively participate in dance, music, sports, and other activities where reflexes lasting fractions are required seconds. But if consciousness is not involved in these processes, then it is necessary there was a better explanation of what she was even doing, says Budson. The new concept suggests that all our decisions and actions are actually taken unconsciously, although we are deceiving ourselves that we take them consciously. So we can tell ourselves that we're only going to eat 1 tablespoon of ice cream. But the next thing we know is that the container is empty. This is because our conscious mind does not control our activities indicated by the authors of the publication. Even our thoughts are generally not under conscious control. This lack of control means we may have difficulty stopping the stream thoughts running through our heads as we try to fall asleep, adds Budson. Budson believes that a number of neurological disorders, the psychiatric and developmental disorders, are disorders of consciousness, including disease, Alzheimer's and other dementias, delirium, migraine, schizophrenia, disorder dissociative, some types of autism and others. The article contains tips for practitioners who can help effectively shape both the conscious mind and the unconscious mind-brain. According to the authors, their work may allow patients to improving problem behaviors such as overeating, help us understand ways in which brain structures support memory, and even change our views on philosophical issues such as free will and responsibility, moral.